This year might just be one of the best years we've had in a while when it comes to video games because we have Starfield, we have Baldur's Gate 3 in the same damn year. Not only that, but they're releasing a month apart. Goodbye all of our social lives. There's no question that this is absolutely amazing. But what's more difficult to tell is which one among them is going to be the game of the year. Well, I'm just kidding. It's easy. It's Starfield. I mean, I already played Baldur's Gate 3 and you can apparently have sex with bears. Well, what the hell? That's a terrible game. Oh yeah, no. that's not the reason. Let me tell you this. I played Baldur's Gate 3 just the first act alone for 212.5 hours. That's the first act. We still have act number 2 and 3 which are going to be bigger than act 1. For just, consideration, let me just tell you how much I played Cyberpunk 2077. I finished this game around 3 times, and my total playtime is 227.6 hours. I'm talking about the entirety of Cyberpunk 2077. And what Baldur's Gate 3 has shown me in its first act alone is absolutely insane. The graphics, the cinematics, the gameplay, every single class, every single race I pick feels completely different, unique, thanks to the gameplay, thanks to the role-playing opportunities. The game just reacts to every single thing you do. Sometimes I try to come up with the most BS theories and try to see if they work, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But at the end of the day, I just get left with awe because the developers thought of everything. I find myself saying to the developers as I'm playing the game and doing some BS, holy shit, I feel sorry for you that you actually had to program this and think about this. It's absolutely amazing. I'm having so much fun right now, but god damn, man. When is the last time you slept? Again, after 200 hours, I find stuff that just simply amazes me because it's not like a slight variation of an ending to a quest. Sometimes things go in a completely different direction that I didn't even think was possible. Let me tell you, I'm an action RPG guy and I just never could get into turn-based combat or RTS, but this game changed all of that. Back in the day, I tried to get into Divinity Original Sin 2 and I just couldn't. I played it for 50 hours and I went pretty far with it, but it was just like a drag. It wasn't fun. After playing this game, I went back to Divinity Original Sin and played it too, and this game literally just made me love turn-based combat, RTS, because when it's done well, you kind of don't have a choice, you just get into it. But even back in the day when I played Divinity Original Sin, my first complaint was oh, actually, this is really cool. I could imagine this being absolutely amazing. I wish it had cutscene, right? I think that was a common wish. I just never thought it would be possible with how in-depth everything was. But hey, the madman at Larian Studios, they pulled it off. And I love all the live streams they do. And I also love how passionate they are about everything they're doing, how they respect their player base, and how they actually did an early access. That was an actual early access. It mattered. They took a crap ton of feedback from the players and actually implemented it. Even when it came to character design. For example, people thought some characters didn't look as attractive as they could have, and obviously, hey, welcome to the world of gaming. The devs actually went ahead and changed hairstyles, the way that people looked, from followers to enemies. That's the scale we're talking about. Another thing that this game has going for itself is the fact that a lot of people, including myself, absolutely love Dragon Age Origins. And we were wishing for another game like that, clamoring for it, hoping for it. But our hopes were absolutely destroyed as BioWare took a nosedive, and I don't even know what's happening with the latest Dragon Age game. But it doesn't matter now because we got the OG, baby. The original game that Origins was inspired by. If you've not played that game, it's timeless. Go play it right now. You'll see so many similarities. The first time I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, I had no idea about the history of this franchise, but I did play Origins and I was oh my god, this is pretty much like Origins, but it's better and more expensive in almost every way. So video games can still be fun. Wow, amazing. I feel like a kid again. Well, these sentiments were echoed very, very loudly as I was watching the Starfield directive. I forget. Starfield Direct, there you go. I felt like a kid again when I was watching that shit. I felt excited for a video game. It just pushed my imagination, got me excited. And that has not been happening because every single time I watch a trailer, maybe it's a cinematic, so it's already dead to me, I don't give a shit. Show me gameplay or go away. And then the games that showed gameplay, there was always something missing. or there was like microtransactions or just shitty practices, or I don't know. The focus was just completely in the wrong direction. Or maybe, you know, there were games of a smaller scale. I really seriously don't remember the last time I was this excited for a video game. Maybe GTA 5. I felt the industry has been getting like super stale with, again, all the BS practices, the remasters, the remake, but yeah, the Starfield trailer had me giddy. One more time, it just made me feel like a kid. Excited to just get in the game, you know. I immediately started imagining, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna probably play like this, go to this world first. I can't wait to get my hands on the game. And obviously we don't know too much about Starfield, because unlike Baldur's Gate 3, we don't get to play it yet. But I'm not 15 anymore. I've seen a lot of video games come and go. I have a lot of past experience to be able to tell at a glance if a game's gonna be worthwhile or not. And this game, meaning Starfield, even if it is like 10 times worse than everybody's expectations, it's still gonna be something to look at. It's still gonna be something to play. Because you can just feel the core Bethesda feeling that you got with Oblivion, Skyrim, even Fallout 4, which is not my favorite game, I'll be honest. Especially because all the base building stuff, I felt like they focused on the wrong aspects of the game there. Whereas Skyrim is basically the perfect mix of everything. Well, in Starfield, they're gonna focus on base building, shipbuilding, and how much is that gonna take away from the main story? It might not. Not just the main story, but obviously like handcrafted quest lines. The shit we play Bethesda games for. And then honestly, unlike Baldur's Gate 3, I have a lot of concerns for Bethesda games right nowadays because of their practices, like how they try to basically take other people's mods and sell them as DLC, nearly doing no work but profiting off of it. I'm talking about the Creation Club. I'm sure a lot of you have forgotten about it, but yeah, at the time when they tried to push that shit, it was pretty unfair and it was very disliked, rightfully so, by most of the gamers. I mean, let's not forget about Fallout 76. Let's not forget about the horse armor that just started everything. And that's the start of all evil, the freaking horse armor from Oblivion. So honestly, all of these coming together, for me and for some of you, might make Starfield an extremely great game. Like, it's amazing, but it's just not as good as Baldur's Gate 3. And this is just a prediction. Obviously, there's no way of me knowing yet until I play Starfield, because it's a Bethesda game. Because it's such a huge freaking game that, yeah, you actually have to play this one, like experience it for a good couple of hours, maybe 100, maybe at least like 30-40 hours, right, to really give it a grade. But I really feel like at the end of this year, I'm gonna end up loving Baldur's Gate 3 a bit more than Starfield. I mean, Starfield has, you know, modding written all over it, right? Like, unquestionably, if Bethesda messes up, the modders are gonna fix the game. So it's gonna be one of the GOATs, I feel, regardless of what happens. But for this year, I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna be the game of the year for me. And both of these games are definitely gonna just be a huge landmark for this decade. Like 10 years later, we'll be talking about these games. But then why did I say Starfield would be the game of the year? Well, it's simple, because it's Bethesda. I love Larian Studios. I think they might be one of the best developers out there when you look at everything overall, what they're doing. But as you know, Bethesda just hits different. It has a much more different position, and the games are also very, very different. If you're a casual gamer, you'll play Bethesda games. If you're not, you'll still like play Bethesda games. They somehow managed to find this perfect balance, right, of making an RPG, but, you know, not going too deep into it at a point where it becomes boring. Again, I think they messed it up with Fallout 4 a little bit, but from what I'm seeing so far from Starfield, is like, if you want to go into the building stuff, hey, there's a very easy way you can do it. But if you want to get into detail, you can also get into detail. So like, even there, they did some fine tuning. And because of that, their game simply appeals to a larger audience. I think we can like compare Baldur's Gate with a Dark Souls maybe, or Souls-like games, in a sense where like, I've been playing video games for years and years, but getting into a Souls game is like kind of learning to play video games all over again. Same with Baldur's Gate 3, you know? Like, after a while, when you play all sorts of games, you're pretty damn decent at everything you do. But with Baldur's Gate 3 and like Dark Souls, like, I don't care how many games you played before. If you've not played this type of game before, you're gonna have a tough time. A tough time, but you're gonna have fun. If you're willing to put in the work and get better, commit. And for example, I just cannot get into Souls-like games. I mean, like, I played some of them, and they are fun, but like I just never cared enough to finish, so it's not my cup of tea. And is this gonna be the case for Baldur's Gate 3 as well? Obviously, Starfield will have, players that, and okay, this game isn't for me, obviously, but the scale of that, especially when in comparison with Baldur's Gate 3, for Starfield is just gonna be a lot less, a lot lower. So at the end of the day, Starfield will be played by more, I imagine many more people. And the game of the year is usually a popularity contest anyways. Just like any award show, it's usually not the best thing, the best actor, the best performer that gets the award, but instead what's gonna bring us more publicity, more eyes, more attention to the show. I mean, they might pick Baldur's Gate 3 just to swerve everybody, but I'd be really surprised. Anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments. And that being said, I'll see you in the next one.